Okay, so it's related to simulation. It's related to simulation. So simulation is a model, we can say, in which you will be basically impersonating the market itself. Okay, so we will be duplicating the market itself. Let us take the case that you are going to invest into the cryptocurrency. So as for investing into the cryptocurrency, you will be doing what? You'll be basically first of all trying on the simulation part itself, where you will be basically accessing all the things as such those are going in the market itself. You'll be having your tests over there, so you can get an idea that how the real market will work, or I can give you a better example. Let us take the case a pilot wants to learn that how to operate on a aeroplane over there. Okay, so for that particular purpose, it's not the case that he'll be just flying the aeroplane directly. So he'll be given a simulation system where he'll be practicing, and after that he will be operating on the real aeroplane itself. That is related to what? That is related to the simulation itself. So simulation involves what? It involves imitation. It involves imitation, where we imitate the real processes, so we duplicate the features, so we duplicate all the features, characteristics of the market. But so as to duplicate the market itself, so as to replicate the market itself, you must be knowing related to all the algos of the market itself, different algorithms, different characteristics, different features that you want to add up in the simulation process itself. And further, you'll be using your own data. Either you will be depending upon the historical data, or you will be using the new data so as to infer the results from that. So that can help you in better way, so as to understand that how the market will work and how it will be working, and that will just help you that how it is going to work when we will be working into the same scenario. Okay, so let us have a look at the theoretical part over here. It says effects of changes in the interest rate, exchange rate, rise in wages, increased cost. So let us take the case that I want to simulate a market. And in the market itself, I'm having the different parameters. It may be related to the interest rate, it may be related to the inflation, it may be related to the market risks, volatility, employment, demand, supply, whatsoever the different factors over there. So I'll be just looking into each and every factor, and further I'll be just designing a model, that will be basically doing what? That will be imitating the market itself. Then I'll be using my own data. Because that's not a real market. I'm just imitating it, that I'll be using my own data so as to look that what would be the output, and I can also infer the results from it, and further I can also change the inputs so as to test it. Okay, so that is related to what? That is related to the simulation. And further, it is related to the simulation model itself. So simulation model is one in which the system's elements are represented by the arithmetic, analog, logical processes. So I already told you that there are different functions in the market itself, or the process you want to imitate. And further, you will be basically going through all the logics. You will be representing all the logics those were presented in the market itself. Those will be presented in the form of a logical processes, or the arithmetical processes, or the analog processes, and that will forming what? That will be forming a model in which you will be imitating the processes of the real processes itself. Okay, the model has to be represented of the system. So whatsoever the model you are basically going to imitate, that must be basically representing the fresh system in the market itself. That must be basically representing the market itself. Let us take the case that if I want to simulate the foreign exchange market, I must be considering each and every factor related to the foreign exchange, and further I'll be just designing a model based upon those all the characteristics, and further add any extra characteristic that I want. I'll also be using that particular characteristic in the model itself. Then I'll be using my data so as to get an idea that what would be the different outputs, so that I could work over it. Okay, so that is related to what? That is related to a simulation model. So simulation methodology will be going through. So first of all, we must be defining the problem objective. So as we have gone through the previous lectures too, which were related to linear programming or related to correlation regression. So you'll be defining what? First of all, we must be having a vision, we must be having an objective, and further we must be looking into the different variables that we must be exploring. So I just give you an example that if I want to simulate the foreign exchange market, in that particular case, I'll be doing what? I'll be just first of all looking into each and every dimension of the foreign exchange market itself. First of all, I'll be defining an objective for me, that what's my objective, and further then I'll be looking at all the variables all the dimensions of the market itself. I'll be considering them all. That is related to what? That is related to the variables itself. So after considering all the variables, all the dimensions, I'll be constructing a simulation model. I'll be constructing a simulation model. So I'll be specifying all the variables, parameters, and the rules and decisions and whatsoever is going to be there so as to imitate the real market itself. I'll be just implementing each and everything over there. I'll be constructing the simulation model itself. For the specify value of the parameters, so whatsoever the parameters, whatsoever the values which have been basically taken by me, I'll be just specifying the different values for those, because I want to imitate the real market, or I want to get an edge over that so that I could test it over. So I'll be specifying the values for those values and the parameters. Is that clear? Then further, I'll be doing what? I'll be evaluating the results itself, determining the statistical test whatsoever. And then it is a propose new experiment. So then I'll be doing what? I'll just repeat it, and further I'll be comparing it with the other information available in my domain itself. Okay. So the approach that is taken for the simulation, that is a Monte Carlo method of simulation. That is a Monte Carlo method of simulation. So this approach makes the use of the concepts of probability, is also known as the random numbers. In the case of the Monte Carlo method, we basically do consider the random number which are generated by the system itself. In the scope of this lecture and CAIIB itself, it is not related to us that how the random numbers are being generated. So random numbers are generated, which is a sequence, which is basically which is the random sequence, and further at random numbers are generated over there during the process for solving the simulation by the Monte Carlo method. Is that clear?